Avi Loeb, renowned theoretical physicist, Harvard professor, head of the Galileo Project, joins us once again. And let's start with this. I mean, you are one of the most outspoken voices pushing for these images from NASA.
In the darkness between stars, something was coming. Not from our solar system, not even from our galaxy. From somewhere impossibly distant, beyond the Milky Way's edge, an object was falling toward us through the cosmic void, silent, dark, drifting across trillions of miles of emptiness with mathematical precision. Astronomers first spotted it on March 2, 2025, a faint smudge against the background radiation of deep space. They cataloged it as 3I/ATLAS, the third confirmed interstellar visitor in human history. Only the third object we'd ever detected that originated from beyond our sun's gravitational domain. The scientific community buzzed with controlled excitement. This was rare, extraordinarily rare, but it seemed simple enough. Another wandering rock, another passive comet ejected from some distant stellar nursery, now tumbling through our neighborhood on its way to nowhere. Observatories worldwide prepared their instruments. Telescopes swiveled into position. Data arrays hummed to life. Teams scheduled routine imaging sessions, expecting to capture another cosmic oddity for the archives. Just science, just data. Another flyby to study before it vanished back into the infinite dark. But there was something different about this one. Something wrong. As 3I/ATLAS approached solar conjunction, its closest pass behind the sun, its light signature shifted, not gradually, not predictably, abruptly. Observatories captured its structure visibly altering in real time, as though the object were responding to our star itself, reacting, adapting. In darkened control rooms across 3 continents, astronomers stared at their screens in confusion. The readings defied every model of cometary physics they possessed, numbers that shouldn't exist, behaviors that violated the fundamental principles governing how objects move through space. This wasn't just a discovery anymore. This was a crisis. Because what appeared on those screens, what multiple independent observatories were simultaneously recording, was something no natural object had ever displayed. Not in 4 billion years of solar system history. Not in the entire documented record of astronomical observation. Something was happening to 3I/ATLAS. Something impossible. And it had only just begun. The breakthrough came from Spain. A twin telescope array in the Canary Islands had been tracking 3I/ATLAS obsessively, capturing 159 separate exposures as it approached perihelion. When researchers stacked and analyzed these images, they found something that made them question their instruments, their methodology, and ultimately their entire understanding of physics. A jet, a thin, concentrated stream of material erupting from the object's surface. But it was pointing the wrong direction. Comets produce jets. This is normal. When ice sublimates under solar radiation, it creates spectacular tails and outgassing plumes. But these always point away from the sun. Solar radiation pressure pushes gas and dust outward, creating those iconic tails we see in textbook photographs. It's one of the most reliable, predictable phenomena in solar system dynamics. 3I/ATLAS's jet pointed toward the sun. The material was moving inward against the full force of solar radiation pressure. It was physically impossible, like watching water flow uphill, like seeing smoke fall downward from a fire. The laws governing particle behavior in space simply didn't allow for this configuration. Within hours, Hubble confirmed it. The Space Telescope's instruments independently detected the same impossible countertail, a luminous glow extending directly toward our star, defying centuries of observed solar-comet interactions. Keck Observatory verified it from Hawaii. 3 separate world-class instruments, using different methodologies, all seeing the same reality-breaking phenomenon. This wasn't a glitch. This wasn't an artifact. This was real. Theories erupted across scientific channels. Perhaps the material was composed of exotic elements somehow resistant to radiation pressure, though no known substance possessed such properties. Perhaps magnetic fields were involved, though the required strength would be astronomical. Perhaps some undiscovered physics was at play. And then someone said it, quietly at first, in private messages between colleagues, then louder in academic forums and emergency video conferences. Perhaps it wasn't natural at all. Perhaps the jet wasn't outgassing. Perhaps it was propulsion, a deliberate emission of energy, controlled and directed with purpose. The foundation of astronomy, the bedrock assumption that interstellar objects are passive, natural bodies, had just cracked wide open. The anomalies multiplied as gravitational modeling teams processed their data. 3I/ATLAS was moving wrong. Its trajectory showed acceleration and deceleration patterns inconsistent with its apparent size. The object displaced space as though it were far lighter than any solid body of its dimensions should be. Researchers ran the calculations repeatedly, checking for errors. The numbers held firm. 3I/ATLAS had a density problem. It moved through the sun's gravitational field like a hollow shell, not a solid rock. The mass-to-volume ratio suggested either an internal void or a structure composed of impossibly lightweight materials. Neither option made sense for a natural object. Then came the rotation data, and the impossibility deepened. 3I/ATLAS completed one full rotation every 16 hours. This was slow, extraordinarily slow for an object of its size and composition. Comets, asteroids, and other small bodies typically spin much faster, often completing rotations in mere hours or even minutes. A 16-hour period suggested something massive and tightly bound, or something held together by forces beyond simple gravity. The physics were clear: a loosely aggregated object, what astronomers call a rubble pile, rotating this slowly should simply fly apart under centrifugal stress. The cohesive forces holding it together would be insufficient. Yet 3I/ATLAS remained perfectly stable, its structure unchanged despite the mechanical stresses that should be tearing it to pieces. Spectroscopic analysis provided the final shock. When observatories split its reflected light into constituent wavelengths, they found signatures that belonged on a spacecraft, not a comet. Nickel, iron, in concentrations that exceeded any known natural body by orders of magnitude. The metallic content suggested refinement, purification, processing, and buried within those signatures, cyanide compounds, complex carbon chains, substances rare even in the densest interstellar dust clouds. This wasn't the spectrum of a pristine, primordial object from the galaxy's edge. This was the spectrum of something that had been altered, modified, constructed. In university offices and government laboratories, scientists began circulating a hypothesis they were afraid to voice publicly. The hypothesis that 3I/ATLAS's structure resembled engineering more than geology, that its properties matched artificial design better than natural formation. The question was no longer if something was wrong. The question was what we were actually looking at. Dr. Avi Loeb had been waiting for this moment. The Harvard astrophysicist had spent years in the academic wilderness, ostracized for suggesting that Oumuamua, the first confirmed interstellar object detected in 2017, might have been artificial. His hypothesis that it could be a light sail or probe had earned him ridicule from mainstream astronomy. They'd called him sensationalist, reckless, a scientist trading credibility for headlines. Now, as 3I/ATLAS defied every natural explanation, Loeb's voice suddenly carried weight. He proposed something radical, a standardized framework for evaluating interstellar anomalies. He called it the Object of Extraterrestrial Probability Scale, the OEP scale, a ranking system from 0 to 10, quantifying how strongly an object's observed properties diverged from natural expectations. Level 0. Completely mundane, explainable by conventional astrophysics. Level 5, ambiguous, with properties that challenge but don't break known physics. Level 10, confirmed extraterrestrial technology. The scale provided what the scientific community desperately needed: a structured way to discuss the undiscussable, a method for quantifying the unquantifiable without resorting to sensationalism or denial. When Loeb released his analysis of 3I/ATLAS, the number shocked even his supporters. Level 4. 4 out of 10 on a scale where anything above 3 implied serious consideration of artificial origin. By Loeb's methodology, level 4 meant roughly 40% probability that the object wasn't natural, that it had been made, designed, sent. The scientific community fractured instantly. Conservative astronomers called him irresponsible, arguing that extraordinary claims required extraordinary evidence, and that while 3I/ATLAS was strange didn't mean alien. Statistical flukes happened. Unknown natural processes existed. Jumping to technological explanations was premature and unscientific. Others defended Loeb passionately. The data was the data. 3I/ATLAS violated multiple fundamental principles simultaneously. At some point, invoking increasingly exotic natural explanations became less parsimonious than accepting the simplest technological one. Social media erupted. Hashtag 3IATLAS trended globally. Conspiracy theories flourished alongside legitimate scientific debate. Government space agencies issued carefully worded statements emphasizing ongoing analysis and caution against speculation. But deep in classified facilities, conversations were happening that the public wouldn't hear about. Military analysts were reviewing the same data civilian scientists studied. Questions were being asked about threat assessment, about protocols, about what humanity should do if Loeb's Level 4 assessment proved conservative. The debate had only begun. Then, as suddenly as the crisis had erupted, 3I/ATLAS vanished. Not mysteriously, not unexpectedly. Simply by following the laws of orbital mechanics, it passed directly behind the Sun from Earth's perspective, entering what astronomers call solar conjunction. For approximately 3 weeks, every telescope on our planet would be blind to the object's behavior. The Sun's overwhelming brightness and radiation would make observation impossible. The universe drew a curtain. The silence felt oppressive. Scientists accustomed to constant data streams found themselves staring at blank screens, running simulations based on extrapolated trajectories, debating what might be happening on the other side of our star. Was the countertail still active? Were the structural anomalies persisting? Or had 3I/ATLAS already performed some maneuver they'd never witness, some action that would only become apparent weeks or months later? Geopolitical tensions emerged from unexpected quarters. NASA announced funding delays for priority observation time, citing budget reallocation protocols that seemed suspicious in their timing. The European Space Agency implemented a temporary data embargo, claiming they needed to verify calibration across their telescope network before releasing further findings. Russia's space agency went completely silent. The vacuum filled with speculation. Online forums exploded with theories ranging from scientific to paranoid. Was someone suppressing information? Had classified military observations detected something civilians weren't being told? Or were agencies simply being cautious, avoiding public panic over phenomena they couldn't yet explain? Meanwhile, mission planners faced an uncomfortable realization. When 3I/ATLAS re-emerged from behind the Sun, its projected trajectory would take it through the outer solar system, potentially passing within sampling range of 2 active spacecraft: ESA's JUICE probe, currently en route to Jupiter, and NASA's Europa Clipper, orbiting Jupiter's ice moon, might have the opportunity for direct observation or direct contact. Simulations showed possible approach vectors. Engineers ran protocols for remote instrument activation. But underlying every discussion was an unspoken anxiety. What if proximity to 3I/ATLAS was dangerous? What if whatever technology might be operating within it reacted unpredictably to human spacecraft? The world waited. Observatories prepared, space agencies coordinated intense video conferences, and somewhere behind the Sun, hidden from human view, 3I/ATLAS continued its journey, doing something, being something that we couldn't yet witness. It came back wrong. When 3I/ATLAS emerged from solar conjunction on April 18th, every major observatory immediately locked onto its position. What they saw defied thermal physics as thoroughly as the countertail had defied radiation pressure. The object was brighter, not dimmer as models predicted, not fading after its close solar approach as every comet in history had done. Brighter, 400% more reflective than before it passed behind the Sun. The thermal analysis made no sense. An object subjected to intense solar radiation should be hot, outgassing violently, its volatiles boiling away in spectacular fashion. 3I/ATLAS showed none of this. Its temperature remained stable, implausibly stable, despite the increased brightness. It was reflecting sunlight with the efficiency of polished metal, not the rough, porous surface of a comet or asteroid. And the countertail was gone, completely absent, as though it had never existed. In its place, instruments detected something new, something that made the hair stand up on the necks of astronomers who'd spent careers studying dead rocks. A faint ultraviolet beam pulsing into deep space, not randomly, not chaotically, with precise rhythmic frequency. The beam activated, sustained for exactly 2.7 seconds, then ceased. Then nothing for 247 seconds. Then again, 2.7 seconds of UV emission at a specific wavelength, followed by exactly 247 seconds of silence. The pattern repeated, over and over, unwavering in its precision. Observatories worldwide confirmed it independently. Hubble recorded it. Ground-based telescopes in Chile verified it. The Chinese space station's instruments detected it. The timing never varied. 2.7 seconds on, 247 seconds off, 2.7 on, 247 off. Natural processes don't maintain precision to the millisecond. Rotational variations exist. Thermal fluctuations occur. Magnetic field interactions produce irregularities. But this signal held perfect time, as though controlled by a clock or a computer. Data teams immediately began frequency analysis, searching for substructure within the pulses. SETI researchers, who'd spent decades listening for exactly this kind of signal from distant stars, suddenly found themselves analyzing one from inside our own solar system. The world's best signal processing specialists started working around the clock, running the data through every analytical framework they possessed. Because if this was intentional, if something aboard 3I/ATLAS was transmitting with purpose, humanity was about to receive its first message from beyond Earth. The breakthrough came at 3:47 a.m. GMT from a research station in Australia. Dr. Sarah Chen, a radio astronomer who transitioned from SETI work to interstellar object analysis, had been running frequency compression algorithms on the UV pulse data. Compressing the signal, essentially speeding it up digitally, revealed patterns invisible in real-time observation. What she found made her hands shake as she reached for the emergency contact protocols. The pulses encoded prime numbers: 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, 19, 23. The sequence progressed systematically, each pulse gap combination representing the next prime in the mathematical series. It was unmistakable once you knew what to look for. The 247-second gap wasn't random. It was part of the encoding structure. The 2.7-second pulse duration correlated to the magnitude of each prime. Prime numbers, the mathematical constants that exist independent of any counting system, any language, any culture. The universal signature that SETI theorists had predicted for decades would be the first proof of intelligent extraterrestrial communication. Because prime numbers aren't invented, they're discovered. Any technological civilization that develops mathematics will encounter them. They transcend human notation. Binary, decimal, hexadecimal, the primes remain constant. They're the perfect first message, the simplest possible proof of deliberate intelligence. The scientific community split violently. NASA's official position urged extreme caution. Their statement emphasized that rotational dynamics combined with outgassing could potentially create patterns that mimicked mathematical sequences. Coincidences occurred. Pattern recognition was a known human bias. Extraordinary claims still required extraordinary evidence. Avi Loeb called a press conference within hours. "This is not random," he stated flatly. "This is not pareidolia. This is not a statistical fluke. 357 independent observations from 17 different facilities have confirmed an unbroken prime sequence extending to the 127th prime number. The probability of this occurring naturally is effectively zero." Small observatories began confirming it independently, posting raw data publicly to circumvent any potential institutional suppression. Amateur astronomers with sophisticated equipment verified the pattern from their backyards. The realization spread globally like wildfire across academic networks and social media platforms. 3I/ATLAS was broadcasting, deliberately, using the most universal mathematical language imaginable. The object wasn't executing random physics, it was executing a protocol, a program. It was behaving like a system, engineered, controlled, purposeful, not a rock, a machine. The James Webb Space Telescope, humanity's most sophisticated orbital observatory, had been tracking 3I/ATLAS since reemergence. Now, with the prime sequence confirmed, mission controllers made the decision to redirect JWST's full analytical capabilities toward comprehensive structural analysis. They reoriented the telescope's hyperspectral imaging array, designed to probe the chemical composition and internal structure of distant exoplanets. For 6 continuous hours, JWST bombarded 3I/ATLAS with every wavelength in its range, from deep infrared to near ultraviolet, building a three-dimensional map of the object's interior. What the data revealed made peer review irrelevant. This wasn't a hypothesis requiring debate. This was observable, measurable reality. Beneath the object's irregular exterior crust, the rough, asteroid-like surface that had disguised it initially, lay a structure of impossible geometry. Hexagonal plates, arranged in perfect symmetry, aligned along the rotation axis with mathematical precision. The lattice extended throughout the interior, creating a honeycomb framework that no natural geological process could produce. Crystalline structures exist in nature, yes. Minerals form geometric patterns, but nothing like this. Nothing at this scale, this complexity, this absolute regularity. The hexagons were uniform to within nanometers across a structure hundreds of meters in diameter. The material composition analysis provided the final confirmation. JWST's spectrographic data showed a nickel-titanium alloy with atomic purity levels that exceeded anything found in nature. The isotopic ratios indicated refining processes, deliberate mixing, metallurgical control. The material wasn't pristine primordial matter from the universe's early epochs. It was manufactured. Metallurgists reviewing the data compared it to aerospace-grade alloys. The similarity was striking. High strength-to-weight ratio, thermal stability across extreme temperature ranges, exactly what you'd engineer for a structure that needed to survive interstellar travel. The scientific papers that emerged in the following 72 hours represented the most significant paradigm shift in human history. Multiple independent teams using different analytical methods all reached the same conclusion. 3I/ATLAS possessed artificial internal architecture. The debate shifted from, is this possible, to who built it? And the most haunting question emerged, whispered in research facilities across the planet. If this is a craft, if this is a probe or vessel or machine from another civilization, where is the pilot? Where is the intelligence controlling it? Or is the object itself the intelligence? On April 23rd, the UV pulses stopped. The prime sequence had been transmitting continuously for 5 days, cycling through higher and higher primes with mechanical precision. Then, mid-sequence, it simply ceased. Observatories registered the final pulse, then silence. Not equipment failure. The object was still visible, still reflecting sunlight, still rotating on its slow 16-hour axis. But the transmission ended. For 11 hours, nothing happened. Then 3I/ATLAS moved. Not drifted, not fell, moved. Multiple tracking stations detected the velocity change simultaneously. The object executed a precise 0.09-degree course correction, altering its trajectory in a way that required thrust, propulsion, controlled force application. Gravitational modeling confirmed it instantly. This was an active maneuver. No outgassing event could produce such precise adjustment. No collision had occurred. No external force had acted upon it. 3I/ATLAS had deliberately changed its path. The new trajectory calculations took hours to finalize, but when they arrived, they revealed something that made the scientific community go silent with awe. The object was now heading toward the heliopause, the boundary where the sun's influence ends and true interstellar space begins. And its path was precise, calculated, following almost exactly the reverse of its entry vector. It wasn't wandering, it wasn't tumbling through space on a chaotic orbit, it was leaving, returning to the void it came from with navigational precision that implied maps, coordinates, intentionality. Then came the final transmission. 13 minutes of continuous UV emission, not pulses, not the rhythmic pattern. A sustained beam carrying what signal analysts immediately identified as far more complex data. The information density was staggering. Terabytes of structured content compressed into 13 minutes of ultraviolet light. Teams worldwide began recording, preserving every photon, capturing the complete transmission before it ended. When it did end, the silence felt permanent. Final. 3I/ATLAS had delivered its message. The prime numbers had been the greeting, the proof of intelligence, the universal, "we are here." This was the response, the actual communication, humanity's first interstellar message. And we had absolutely no idea what it said. Decoding efforts began immediately. The world's leading cryptographers, mathematicians, linguists, and signal processing experts collaborated in an unprecedented global effort. The data was public. No government could suppress it, and thousands of researchers attacked it from every analytical angle imaginable. The breakthrough came from Fourier analysis, when the signal was transformed from time domain to frequency domain and then reconstructed in 3 dimensions. It revealed a structure that made viewers gasp: a fractal, a self-similar, infinitely complex geometric pattern that zoomed and repeated at every scale. But not just any fractal. Its structure precisely matched the hexagonal lattice JWST had detected inside 3I/ATLAS itself. The object had transmitted a mathematical blueprint of its own internal architecture. And embedded within the fractal, appearing at specific scaling iterations, was the golden ratio. Phi 1.618. The mathematical constant that appears in nature, in art, in physics, in the geometry of galaxies and seashells and DNA helixes, a universal constant like the primes, another proof of intentional design. But the truly disturbing discovery came when researchers attempted to replay the decoded structure. The fractal shifted. When run through simulation software multiple times, its configuration changed subtly, as though it was responding to observation. Teams verified it repeatedly. The data was deterministic, not random, but it contained something like adaptive complexity, meta-information, code that reacted to being decoded. Scientists struggled to describe the phenomenon. It seemed almost alive, almost conscious. Avi Loeb released his final assessment on May 2nd, OEP Level 9. One step below confirmed extraterrestrial technology. The scientific world reeled. Level 9 meant the evidence was overwhelming. The probability of natural explanation infinitesimal. Only direct recovery and laboratory analysis of the object itself could push the rating to level 10, but recovery was impossible. 3I/ATLAS was already beyond Mars, accelerating toward the outer solar system. No human spacecraft could intercept it. We could only watch it leave. Then, on May 7th, something happened that no one predicted. Deep space monitoring arrays detected an anomalous cosmic microwave background fluctuation. A temporary spike in radiation at the exact frequency 3I/ATLAS had been transmitting. The spike originated from a region trillions of miles away in the direction the object had come from. The universe had responded. Something, somewhere in the infinite dark, had answered 3I/ATLAS's transmission. Then silence, complete and absolute. By June 3, I/ATLAS crossed the heliopause and vanished into interstellar space, leaving behind only questions. The fractal code remained undeciphered. The cosmic microwave echo was never explained. Humanity had received proof we weren't alone, but we still didn't understand the message.